Hello and welcome along to Mondo Chalavet Movies. My name is John and this is going to be what physical media releases I picked up in the month of December and January. So in order to get through all of these titles, I'll whiz through them quite quickly and not talk about them too much. So in December, first up I got on 4K the Lego Movie. This looked absolutely spectacular on 4K. Now I often think that these movies are the type of ones that will always look good on 4K because really the HDR on here, these movies are colourful anyway, obviously very much primary coloured, and if this the HDR is used well on here, these ones will look, as this one does, look exceptional. So that's the Lego Movie in 4K. The same can be said for The Secret Life of Pets in 4K. Now this one here looks, well, that looks spectacular. This one looks double spectacular. This one's probably the best looking 4K in the UK market of one of these type of movies. It looks just unreal. It's funny because this movie is very like a slim release as if it was released in America, but obviously it's got the British certification on there. So I'm not too sure why that was released in a slimline version, but I'm quite happy to pick that up. I knew that this looked great on Blu Ray and I was expecting this to look spectacular on 4K and I was so impressed with it. That's The Secret Life of Pets in 4K. Next up is from 88 Movies is Slapshot. Next up from 88 Films is Snapshot. Now this is an Australian movie and didn't know anything about it, and that sometimes is good. Actually 88 will put out these movies and I don't, like I say, I don't know anything about them, but usually I would say I'm very impressed by what I see. This one looks pretty good actually. It's got a nice remaster on it. It's got a lot of, this is obviously the first version which has the slipcase on it. Got a great slipcase, this really nice. So it's another one it's high up my list to watch, but obviously my watch list seems to be getting bigger and bigger. So that's Snapshot. Next up is the 4K collection of SpiderMan. Now this is the Sam Raimi 3 movies, the triple bill. And this is one of the ones I wanted to get actually separately, and I didn't realize we were going to bring out this box set, so I waited for this one to come. Everything in one pack. You get the Blu-rays and the sort of the 4Ks as well. So that's a good space saver actually on the shelves. And these movies, I've got to say, a brief sort of synopsis on this one is they do look really good. Although I do want to go and watch them properly, obviously, and give you my full thoughts on it when I get round to it. But for 4K, I thought that this wasn't going to look as good as it does, but it actually looks really good. That's the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 3 film collection. Next up on 4K, I've got, speaking of collections, big collections, I've got the Dark Knight Rises collection on 4K. Now, funny enough, I would have preferred this. If you're going to do a collection, you may as well do something like this. Saves on space on the shelves, but never mind. Got a nice cover on there. I've got this in a sale in HMV. And I always wanted to get these on 4K. I did have the Dark Knight on a sort of another media book version, but I could never find the other ones, or cheaply I should say. So I just said, right, I'm just going to get this and then have done with it. So this looks great on the shelves, and I'm very interested to watch these ones. Big fan of Batman. I might watch them before I see the new Batman, although they've got nothing to do with the new Batman. But this is on the big high watch list again. It's weird how we can get all these movies. You can put them on the watch list and can languish there for quite a while. But yeah, I do want to check these out, as I do want to check this the Sam Raimi Spider-Man's out as well. That's a Dark Knight Trilogy in 4K. Next up is Halloween 4 in 4K. Now this is the Shout Factory, Scream Factory one, and it looks spectacular. I didn't know if I was going to be a big fan of Halloween 4. I have seen it back in the day, but I couldn't remember anything about it. But I must admit, even though it's not a patch on the original Halloween, it's still a good movie. Don't get us wrong. I did like it, and this collection that they've done, Scream Factory or Shout Factory, is it Scream or Shout? I'm not too sure. I think it's Shout. They have done the sort of the best presentation for me you could ever have of Halloween. So that's Halloween 4 in 4K. So what else did I have to get? Of course I had to get Halloween 5 on 4K. This ends the collection for the moment, but I do know they're going to bring the next lot out on this Halloween in 2022. And also I'd like to give a shout out to my good friend Alan Scouser, because I won his competition. I used the money to put towards buying this off the last one I needed off Amazon. So really pleased to get this, and I'm really pleased to see this one, although I knew it wasn't going to be the best one, but I did have a good time with it. So in a way, if you enjoy a movie, that's what it's all about, isn't it? And sometimes you can be hypercritical of these movies and you can say, oh well, it's not this, it's not that, or it doesn't make sense. But sometimes you've just got to suspend your disbelief enough to enjoy the movie. So that's Halloween 5. Big shout out to Alan Scouser, link down below. Next up is the Batman movie on Blu Ray because I saw it and it was about £1. But I would like to get this on 4K actually. When 4K comes down cheap enough, I will upgrade this, because even this one looked really good on Blu Ray, which I knew it would do. I think this film is really good. I think it's really funny as well. You can get a lot of enjoyment out of this, and I would love to see this on 4K, because I do think that these movies do transport into 4K. The Lego movies look exceptional on 4K. So that's the Lego Batman. Also on the same trip to CEX, I got the Lego Ninjago. So I can't get my teeth around that one movie. I watched this the other night actually, and it looked absolutely brilliant on there, and the sound as well was absolutely thumping on the Blu-ray. So I know the 4K is going to be that little bit better. So I will be getting on 4K when it comes down to a cheap, affordable price. But I thought this was a really good, funny movie, and I didn't know Jackie Chan was going to be in it. So that was another bonus as well. So that's a Lego. Wow, that's the Lego Ninjago movie. I'll put my teeth in slow. Oh. Next up on Arrow is Animal Factory. Just saw this and I realised it had Willem Dafoe in it, and I'm not a fan of this cover. I think the cover actually put me off. And obviously it's made by Steve Buscemi as well, so I thought, hang on a minute, this for £6, why not? I'll give this one a shot. So I put it on. The picture quality is absolutely stunning actually. I think the movie's from about 1990. So it was just one of them ones where you see, I usually do try these ones out if I see one cheap enough in CX, especially Narrow Title. I always check it out. And 90% of the time I actually have a good time with it. I haven't watched this one yet, but the cast actually is a great cast as well. So that's the Animal Factory. Next up is, this is another through CX pickups. This is Jet Li with War, and also Jason Statham. It's one of those movies, when I see those two together, I just think, well, why not? It's only 50p as well. This is another one where you just get them, and even if you don't like the movie, you just got yourself a box to keep. So yeah, I'll be checking that out sometime. I think my wife will want to check that one out as well, because she's a big fan of those two characters. That's War. Next up is Sam Raimi's The Quick and the Dead. This looks actually really nice on a Blu-ray. I think this would look spectacular on a 4K if it was done right. This is a great movie. I don't think many people talk about it. It's a Western, yes, but it's got a lot of sort of camera use, like Evil Dead use. To me, it makes it much more interesting than your average Western. Anything that Sam Raimi's involved with, obviously, puts it up a notch for me. But you've got like a lot of Evil Dead isms, camera work in here, which obviously is what you want to see with Sam Raimi does it. You want to see his mastery with the camera. And the movie itself is a really good movie as well. Got a great cast in here. That's The Quick and the Dead. Next up is another one that was cheap as chips. It is Date Night. And I like these characters in here. Tina Fey and Steve Carell. I do, or Carell. I like these actors. I like the stuff I see of them on TV or on YouTube. So another, like I say, another cheap buy is $1.50, so why not? I will get around to watch this. I usually watch these by myself because my wife doesn't really like this type of this humour. But she does like Steve Carell. She likes the American Office as I do. Next up on 4K is The Suicide Squad. Now I haven't watched this. I've checked it out. It does look really good. The picture quality is brilliant on it. Got this in a sale, so why not? And I will get around to it. I've heard really bad things about the other Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad. Well, it must have taken a couple of minutes to think of them two titles. I don't know why it is these days, but they always seem to have in a franchise, even not putting a 2 in it or a whatever in it, they just put the same title on all the movies. So when you try to go back to it, you can't decide which way to look at them. Which when you go into the franchise, you think, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 would be great, but or even on brackets. But anyway, that's The Suicide Squad. Look pretty good, and I can't wait to watch it. Next up was a movie that I heard was coming out in 4K, and I saw a review by Keith from Euphoria Pictures, linked to his channel down below. And he said, in his way, that he said this was a great looking movie, and I thought, right, as soon as Keith mentions this, I think we're pretty much on the same wavelength when it comes to how I assess movies. So I took his word for it, and obviously it looks absolutely stunning, just like I hoped it would do, because it's such a bright film. And it is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I got this again in a sale. These were 2 for £24, so you cannot knock that one at all. This one does look, it looks absolutely amazing. I haven't watched it yet. I was going to watch it at Christmas, but I think that's one of those things when you plan stuff and it just never goes never goes the way to plan, but I can't wait to watch this actually. It's funny, it's one of these movies where everyone raves about it, but I remember I haven't seen this movie a great deal of times, and it's been a long time since I've seen this movie. So that's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory on 4K. Next up on 4K again is They Live. Now, I remember when I first watched this, I watched it about 2 or 3 times, and I never could get away with this movie. I think the problem I had with it was because the first half of the movie is quite serious. The second half of the movie isn't very serious. And I thought the 2 changes in the sort of tact of the film really put me off. But I was watching the great channel, Mike Wood's Movies. I'll leave a link down to his channel down below. And he was sort of talking about it. I thought, you know what it is? The way he's like talking about this movie, I think I better give it just one more try. So I got it on 4K because I had it on Blu Ray before, and it looks amazing on 4K. The sound is amazing on here as well. So yeah, so on his advice, I did like check it out again, and I must admit I had a great time with it. I sort of just thought, right, it's going to change its sort of tone in the middle, but I can get away with that, and I just went with it, and I found myself to like it a lot because I was prepared to say to this movie, well, if you don't entertain me this time, that's it, I'm done with They Live. But I had a really good time with it. I'm next going to go back to Big Trouble in Little China because I have the same problem with that. I do find that the movie, I'm not saying it's a bad movie, it just didn't connect with me for some reason. But I'm going to give Big Trouble in Little China one more try because why not? And also I have the Arrow version. I would imagine that we'll get a 4K sometime because all these John Carpenter movies, when they come out in 4K, they look, I mean, John Carpenter had a thing about his movies that always look great on his releases, especially the 4Ks. So I'm really glad that I went and revisited that. That's They Live on 4K. Next up is an amazing set. It is The Armour of God, the Jackie Chan film from about 1985. This for me is one of the best early Jackie Chan films. It's got everything going for it. It's quite comedic. It's good. This is an amazing package. And 88 Films have done an amazing job with this when they do these box sets, especially for the Jackie Chan stuff. You just kind of go past it. So I've watched this, and I must have watched this 100 times. Just love it, and I'm so glad that I've got this version. That's The Armour of God, the 88 Special Edition title. Next up is from Blue Underground. It is Mania Cop 2. Now, when I got this one, I remember, funny enough, I did like Mania Cop. I didn't really like 2 and 3, but I thought, well, I'm collecting all the Blue Underground ones, I will give it a shot. And I'm prepared to kind of, if this movie I find awful, I will let it go. I'm not going to hang on to it if I hate it. But so far, touch wood, the Blue Underground stuff has always been interesting to me. So I put it on, and I did have a great time with it. I think the only problem I had with it was the fact that I think the special effects on the mask of Mania Cop 2 isn't the best, but it is what it is, I suppose. But the picture quality on here, as with all the other Blue Underground Blu-rays, 4Ks, is exceptional. And I'm going to get Mania Cop 2, and I'm going to go and get Mania Cop 3 as well, even though I don't think I like it as much as Mania Cop 2. But saying that, I really enjoyed Mania Cop 2 after not really caring for it. I mean, this is back in the day on first watch, and I've only watched that one once, and I've only watched this Mania Cop 3 once as well. Lovely bit of embossing on there, as they do. You can't go past Blue Underground when it comes to 4K releases of these kind of obscure horror movies, mainly from so they're not grindhouse, but they're not far off it. But I urge anybody who's on the fence with checking Blue Underground down to 4K, you really want to make that jump because they just look absolutely spectacular. So that's Mania Cop 2 on 4K. Next up is ABCs of Death 2. Now I remember this is probably got about I don't know 100 films on, and all like just shorts by good directors. Don't know anything more about it, but I've always wanted to check one of these out. So I don't think if you get 2 before 1 it makes any difference. So it was cheap from CEX, so I'll get the other one eventually, and I will give them a watch. It'll probably be an easy watch because you can just watch bits of them here, there, and everywhere. So that's ABCs of Death Part 2. Next up is one that I saw on the shelves, and I thought, well, it's 50 pence, why not? I'll get it. It might be utter trash, but it might not. It might be a bit of a laugh, a bit like the Harry Hill movie. I found to be quite amusing. It is the Keith Lemon movie. Now, yes, it's not going to be great, but so what? It's just one of those ones where you say it's 50p, I'll watch it, and because some of these ones that I get that people say this is the worst film I ever see, it always makes me think I've got to see that movie. Now I'm not going to say this is going to be so bad it's good, but I'm interested to see how bad this movie is because I don't hear anybody saying that I like it. So that's the Keith Lemon, the film. Next up is a one that was released by Arrow, but I actually picked it up on Palisades Tartan Video. It is Lady Vengeance. Now these movies, I love these type of movies, and I know it's available in the box set for Arrow, and I do need to sort of get into the other ones that are in that box set, Old Boy as well, which I haven't seen really enough. I can't remember the other title. So Lady Vengeance, it was only cheap, so I thought, why not? I'll try it, and if it's okay, I mean, it looks pretty good on this Blu-ray. I'll watch it. I'll get the other ones, but it's maybe a bit of a try before you buy. And maybe if I don't like this movie, I don't need to go into that box set. So that's Lady Vengeance on Tartan Video. And lastly, that I bought in December was the movie and Blu-ray Malignant. Now, this is a great slipcover. This is, and weirdly enough, it's not out in 4K, and you know, wow, but it's just one of them things. I got this movie not knowing anything about it, and that's the best way to go in it. Don't know anything about it. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. But I will say this has got a really clever story involved in this movie. Special effects are amazing. The whole tone of the movie I find is really good. It is kind of semi-giallo in a way. It does have giallo overtones in it, I can say that. And it looks spectacular on Blu-ray. Actually, to be honest, I mean, we've been talking about this quite a bit, that I think that the community thinks that Blu-rays have got that kind of, they've been quietly sort of sort themselves out into being like really good. So that's why you find these days that sometimes these new 4Ks look not too much different from the new Blu-rays, because they're that close. The technology is sort of caught up with the Blu-rays. So for me, like the Blue Underground Blu-rays, they're doing a spectacular job of a movie that probably hasn't been remastered for years. So I'm all about that. But maybe these ones, maybe in the future, it might be ones that you might just want to get on Blu-ray, maybe save yourself some money. So anyway, that's Malignant, and that's the last thing I bought in December 2021. Phew, right, on to 2022. Right, let's do January 2022. First up is Virgin Witch. Now this is still available from HMV, actually $14.99. The package here is just absolutely stunning. It's region free, and this is a sort of very early 70s low budget exploitation movie. That's the only way I can put it, with a lot of skin involved. And yeah, it's just a really good presentation, screenbound. That's starting to be a little bit of a label on my radar. Haven't watched it yet, but I'm really excited to check this out. And for $14.99, you're really getting your money's worth here. I think a lot of other companies want to take a leaf out of Screenbound's books, because when they do a release, they do a really good version on it, and they do keep the price down on it as well. So that's Virgin Witch on Blu-ray. Next up is a former Video Nasty. It is Extra. Now this one is on the Section 3 Video Nasty's banned list. And to be honest, I thought it was higher up. I always thought it was like a proper banned Video Nasty, but it wasn't. This is looks absolutely spectacular on here. It's got loads of different versions on it. This is the standard edition version. I haven't got that from Second Sight. Haven't got the special edition because it goes for silly money. And yes, so that's Extra. You'll find that I'm starting to get a lot more of these banned Video Nasties, and this is what I'm going to try and do this year, as I've mentioned before. That's Extra on Blu-ray. Next up is another Video Nasty. It is Don't Look in the Basement. Now I just want to give a special shout out to a subscriber of mine called Carl Morris. Now Carl got in touch with me last night. Actually, he showed me his collection on Instagram pictures of his Video Nasties collection. It's absolutely amazing. I was like, wow. This is, and also it's going to be a good reference point for me to see if I like this one. I was like struggling to find out if this was like a definitive version or an uncut version to get, because I think the Blu-ray isn't that great a quality. I'm hoping it gets a remaster this year because I love this film. And what I need to do is, what I can do now is I can get in touch with Carl and I can say, look, is this the version I need to go for before I buy it? Carl's got a lot of knowledge when it comes to this stuff, so he's my go-to man when I need to check these movies out, just to make sure I'm not buying one that's like slightly cut or it's like a really awful picture quality, because I couldn't find out much about this movie actually. It took me a long time to find out that this one existed, and I got it off eBay for $10.99, which is not a bit more than I want to pay for it, but I want to make sure there's no point in getting one for £2 if it was cut. So that's a shout out to Carl Morris, and I'm sure he's going to help me with my Video Nasty search this year. Cheers, Carl. Next up is a subscriber mail from my good friend Korashia Ishii. It is Jackie Chan's Project A Part 1 and Part 2. I must admit I love these films. I know that I haven't seen Part 2 for a long time, but Part 1 was just absolutely brilliant. These are like sort of Jackie Chan being a little bit Buster Keaton in a way. The stunts in here are just next level. So grateful for Kurashia to think of me to send me this over, and I was so glad to pick it up because it's been one on my list for a long time, and I haven't got around to watching it yet because me and Deborah haven't really sort of met up much because of due to shifts, because just to get these movies watched. But really I'm interested in watching this. That's Project A Part 1 and Part 2, and thank you once again, Kurashia. Really appreciate that, mate. Next up is another video nasty. It is Gestapo's Last Doji. Now, this one was released by 88 in the States because it couldn't get it passed in the UK. It wasn't deemed appropriate for UK market. And I've got to admit, not that I want any form of censorship at all in movies. I think that these movies should be allowed to be, you know, seen. I do understand why this movie didn't get a British release, and wow, to be honest, it's one of the really hardest to watch nasties that I've ever seen. I mean, it's a spectacular presentation. I know that actually there's another movie coming out by 88 called Mardi Gras Massacre, which I don't think would ever come out at all because it's so obscure. But this one's starting to come out, so it just shows you 88 are really up in the game when it's come to these nasty things. And I know they're releasing Night of the Demon as well, so I think that maybe when I think about these ones that I'm going to get, I might want to, the really hard ones to get, like Mardi Gras Massacre, I might want to take a bit of a rain check on them, because the chances are there could be seeing a bit of an upsurgence this year, remarkably enough. Wow, who'd have thought it? So yeah, so this is not for everybody, this movie, but it looks spectacular in the way it was shot. But wow, is it a really tough watch. That's Gestapo's Last Doji. Next up is Freehand for a Tough Cop. These are the type of movies, I really like these movies. Directed by Umberto Lenzi as well, so it ticks all the boxes for me. Got a lovely presentation here from the Fractured Visions label. Now I know they've released some more of these, so I think I'll have to get them because I do like this packaging a lot. And I've put it on. It looks really entertaining, sort of cop drama or cop movie, but in an exploitational way. So yeah, so that's another one. That's another one that is high on my list. I keep saying it, don't I? But these movies are done really well. I think that Umberto Lenzi, this was his forte, doing these type of movies. I know he's done some schlocky cannibal movies, but this one for me is when Umberto Lenzi was like very watchable. So that's Freehand for a Tough Cop. Next up is my favourite movie of all time. It is Down by Law from Criterion. I do have this on the American Criterion, but I can't put it on my 4K player. So this one here, I can now put on my 4K player and experience this in probably the best way I can. Although I'd love to see this in a pure 4K. I think it would look absolutely sensational. But on the upscaled, on the 4K, this looks unreal. This is such a beautiful looking movie, black and white, and it's crystal clear. It's got an amazing soundtrack as well from Tom Waits and also John Lurie as well. He adds some songs to this. You've got this Italian comedian here, Roberto Benigni, being just amazing as he's always in every movie that he comes into. I do want to do a dedicated video to this. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's my favourite movie of all time. And I think a lot of people might get a lot of enjoyment out of this if they knew a bit more about it. That's Down by Law. Next I got from 88 Films, Steel Arena. This is, I've watched this movie actually, and it's a bit of a strange movie because I didn't really care. It's one of the movies that's shot that probably quick and low budget. It doesn't really make too much sense, to be honest, to start off with. But after watching it fully, I thought this was a really entertaining movie. It's only a PG as well. I think that it's really funny to have this type of movie in PG, and you can see what type of language they're using in alternatives to swear words, which was quite good in itself. But I mean, it's got quite a good print actually, and I think the presentation of this movie and the next movie coming up look are just actually they would make it pick this up without knowing anything about it. I got this on sale because I wasn't too sure about it, but I'm glad I picked it up. That's Steel Arena. Also got Truck Stop Women, which I think is good. Which I've watched this one, and I think this is more entertaining than Steel Arena. Obviously, it's a bit more. It's got more swearing and all that type of thing. The type of movie you would expect, the type of things you would expect to put in a Steel Arena. But this here is it's a great exploitation movie, and you can see that this is the same director actually, because I thought, well, why do these look the same? But it's the same director and writer on these movies. So quite recommended, and it's, like I say, it's nuts. That one's nuts as well. Full of low budget stock car racing and also car crashes and people. These truck stop women just steal trucks and then sell what's in the goods, and then there's sort of racket as well. So that's a really good watch actually. That's Truck Stop Women. Try saying that after 10 pints. Next up I got a 4K set, which I had to get because it was one of them ones where, while I clean the disc, it's one of those ones where you think it's got to be got. And I do know that Keith from Euphoria Pictures again, they give it a good review. It is Back to the Future Trilogy. Now I'll have to do a video on these because I'll have to mention in the video when I watch it about why I didn't really like this series when I first started off with it, but now I love them now. So I mean, I've got this at full price, but I just thought at one point I'm just going to have to get it because I just like it that much, or I want it that much, I say. I must have bought this 1,000 times as well, one of those ones. But I only have, well, my son's got my old Blu Ray copies of these, and these ones here have the Blu Ray and the 4K in as well. And yes, they do look spectacular as well. I can't wait to watch them because it's been a long time since I've watched Back to the Future, mainly because of the fact that I knew there'd probably be a 4K around the block. So that's Back to the Future Trilogy. Next up on Arrow is Shock. This is another Mario Bava movie, and probably one of the few that I need to get. And I watched this the other night, and I've got to say this is a brilliant movie. Mike Woods had said that he thought this was his second favourite Mario Bava film, and I thought, wow, I didn't hear anyone really talk about this movie, so I thought, well, maybe I wouldn't put it that high on the list. But I tell you what, after watching it, I can thoroughly recommend this, and I can understand why Mike said that, because the movie itself is such a good movie. It's basically, the short story is it's a child who gets possessed, kind of, and it's about the story to do with that. It also has a brilliant performance in there from Daria Nicolodi. What? Daria. Do that one again. It has a great performance in here from Daria Nicolodi. Wow. And 2K restoration. It looks stunning actually, but the movie itself is it's quite creepy in a way, but I really enjoyed this. I do recommend, if people don't know about this movie, as a horror movie, I think this is a great little kind of like demonic possession, slightly in a way, movie from 1977. So that's Shock, and it's just a great movie, that one. Next up on 88 films, I got Eskimo Nell. Now this one here was one that I thought, I did see on the shelves, and I thought, well, what's it about? And then when I realised what type of movie it is, the sort of like 70s exploitation comedy thing that was like rife in the 70s. These movies were just everywhere, and they were sort of pushing the boundaries when it comes to the carry-on films. It took it to like the next level, and it's not graphic at all, but it's actually quite funny because of the premise of this movie is it's a pure 70s movie, and obviously the way that they talk about people and the whole people where women are, it's mad. It couldn't happen these days, but it's of its time. And also it features about a minute cameo of Mary Millan. More about her a bit later on. So that's one of the reasons why I picked it up. But I wanted to see it for the fact it's just one of these ones that's buried right in the middle of the 70s, and it's so un-PC, it's unbelievable, but it's a good watch. That's Eskimo Nell. So next up, my good friend John Hall came across, and he gave me some movies. The movies that he gave me is Death Wish on Blu-ray. He mentioned this a couple of times to say that he had this American version. He was going to get the UK Blu-ray, and he asked me if I would like that. I said yes, please. It would go well with my Death Wish 2 and Death Wish 3 that he got for me. So I've got to thank him again for this. Actually, I put it on. It looks really good as well. I'm really interested in seeing it. I think I'm going to try and get 4 and 5 before I watch the whole lot, because I want to watch them in a kind of series. So that's Death Wish. Next up, John gave me Mr. Majestic. That's another Charles Bronson movie. I put this on, actually, it looks really nice. I've got to say that really happy to see this one. And also, I remember watching this back in the day and thinking it was one of those films that really stood out for me in Charles Bronson. Now, to be honest, you can't go wrong with Charles Bronson. I haven't seen him act in a bad movie, personally, and really interested to watch this one as well. So that's Mr. Majestic. Next up, John gave me for a great price the Blu-ray of Phantasm 1 and 2. Now this one here, as John brought them across, he's got the corrected discs in here, which needed to be put in actually because the ones we had in here weren't the right ones. One looks spectacular. I watched it the other day, and it's an amazing film. I think it's really strange as well, but I really enjoyed it. And two is being remastered on 4K on Blu Ray. And actually the comparison between the two that is in here, the original one that they put in here, and then the remastered one that they should have put in here, is night and day. The remastered one looks absolutely amazing. And actually the quality on the original two that they had in here is pretty poor compared to it. There's a big noticeable difference on it. So if you have got this set, do try and make sure that you've got the remastered 4K Blu-ray on number two. But that's it. It's a great set to have, and I can't wait to watch two. I haven't watched two for a long time, but one is a firm favourite of mine, and it's on the previously banned video nasty list, believe it or not. So that's Phantasm 1 and 2. Next up is the one that is firmly on the video nasties list. Now John had accidentally ordered two of these, so I said, well, I'll buy the other one off here, and it is House on the Edge of the Park. This is a spectacular slipcase. You can see that. It's just unreal. Such a good presentation. The film itself is pretty nasty. I'm not going to say it's a laugh out loud a minute movie at all, but this is a stunning release from Severin. It is. It's got a Blu-ray. It's got a special features Blu-ray, and it's also got the soundtrack in it as well. So what more could you want? So this is like a house invasion movie, and it's very nasty actually. The UK one's cut. I can't imagine it ever coming out uncut in the UK. So I was so pleased to pick this one and add it to my, like previously, I haven't got video nasties list. So that's the House on the Edge of the Park. And also, John had got this, and he'd mistakenly thought there was a remastered Blu-ray in here, and there's not actually. That's coming out separately. So he asked me if I'd like to buy it off him, and I said, yes please. And it is Invasion of the Body Snatchers on 4K. Now this is from Kino Lorber. And Kino Lorber are releasing some really good movies, actually, movies that you would never think they would release. And this looks, I knew this would look good, but this looks spectacular. It's one of those ones where you think I reckon when Arrow released it, I thought, yeah, that's going to look really nice, but it does look unbelievable. Can't wait to check this one out. It's been a long time since I've seen this movie, and I'm so glad that John gave me the opportunity to buy this up. So thanks once again, John. Really appreciate that, and I can't wait to get stuck into that. So that's Invasion of the Body Snatchers on 4K. Next up was a movie I picked up that I hadn't seen for a long time, so I managed to get it on Blu-ray. And also I'd said on one of my previous videos, I thought I had the DVD, but I haven't. But I actually have got the DVD, but it's in my son's room. Because I'm sure I had this, and I was right. But sometimes these movies are sort of transported into my son's room, and it is in a space. Now this stars Martin Short, and also Dennis Quaid. And Meg Ryan, actually. Yeah, Meg Ryan. And the picture quality in here, it's pretty decent, but it's an early release on Blu-ray. I would imagine if they'd done a remaster on this, it would look spectacular. I would love to see this in 4K. I think this would be such a good movie. It's quite long, actually. It's 2 hours long. I didn't think it was going to be 2 hours long. But I could have watched it on the DVD, but you know, this is better than the DVD, but not by a great deal. So really interested to watch this again after a long time. That's Inner Space. So next up is Effects. Now I've talked about this quite a few times. I love this range that AGFA, well 101 films are releasing this AGFA sort of set by the looks of it. And this one here has reversible art, although the next one, Lady Street Fighter, doesn't have reversible art, unfortunately. This movie here was a little bit confusing, I've got to say. It's got a 4K remaster, but they've remastered it in 4K. I'm not saying they haven't. But they haven't cleaned up the print at all. The print just looks really scratchy, but to be honest, I think it adds to the movie. The movie itself, I've got to go back to it. When I watched it the first time round, I wasn't really that taken with it, but I will give it another shot because I fell asleep halfway through. But I need to revisit the bit I missed, and also when I watched the ending of it, I thought, that kind of makes sense a little bit because I didn't know where this movie was heading. But I will give it another shot. I'll probably keep it anyway because it's got some great special features on here. And also it seems to be part of a set. This is 01 Lady Street Fighter. It's got 02 on the end of it. So I will keep this one because it'll be one of them ones where if you decide to keep the whole set and you think, oh, well, I'll go back for this one, chances are it'll be out of print and it'll be on eBay for stupid money. So rather than do that, I would just I would get it now, keep it now. And also I would think that if you were going to go and maybe buy it, maybe wait for it to come down on sale, It's not the greatest movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it's watchable, and you might want it for the fact of it's ultra rare. Actually, the print, they didn't think there was this movie existed actually, so it was amazing that they actually got their hands on it, even though I never knew anything about it. So if this movie never came out, I would have never known it wasn't there. Anyway, so that's Effects, and it's kind of recommended, but I can't totally recommend it because I can imagine some people picking up and thinking it's the biggest load of rubbish they've ever seen in their life. Effects. Lastly, in my January haul, so I hope this hasn't gone on for as long as this raw footage is going on for nearly an hour. I hope it's going to be a little bit less than that. Next time, on February, I'll go back to my normal ones where I do every month, one at a time, to avoid it getting too big. So the last thing I picked up in the month of January 2022 was the Mary Millan box set. This, for me, is such a great set. It's got everything you would ever want to know about Mary Millan, and there's a lot to know actually. It's not just what you would think. The story is not as straightforward as you would think that this person here was in these films, and that's it. There's a lot more to it, that, and the amount of special features on here is incredible. Got a lovely booklet in this. I am going to do a separate video on this, so I don't want to go too much about it. But if you're into sort of mid-70s exploitation in a way, these comedies that they had with these, quite substantial British actors who were in this movies, and obviously Mary Millan sort of plays basically, on most of the films she plays a bit part, even though she's kind of in the film as a star. She's not really the star of these movies, but she's in them as well, and I don't think she can act at all, which was one of her, she wanted to be a serious actor. I don't think she could have ever transformed to a serious actor, but I've got a lot of respect for what Mary Millan was trying to do with her career and her life at the time, and her battles with censorship. So this is a great little box set to go into, and I tell you what, if for 40 quid, same with that Virgin Witch, it's a bit of a hefty brick to have. I don't know how they're doing it and keeping the prices down, because this, to me, the amount of stuff in here, this should have been a lot more money. But maybe because it's the subject matter and this Mary Millan, maybe people don't know about her. But I'm excited to do a separate video on this. That'll be coming up as soon as I've finished off the rest of the stuff in here, because it's taken a long time to get through all the special features on here because there's that many. So, after all that, and also this box set is region free as well. So that's a bit of a, if you want to import it, while you still can, I urge you to go for that. Okay. So thanks for watching. Hope this hasn't been too long. You take care, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.